Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. You're watching or listening to The Engine Room, a podcast by Token Metrics. My name is Dylan Love. I'm joined today by Bill Noble and Jacob Koch-Gallup. We're here to help you figure out what's going on in crypto. Here we are. It's Friday, October 22nd. We're looking back on quite a week in crypto. We have Bitcoin chasing all-time highs, still hovering around the same price, not all-time high price, but it's still in the same neighborhood. And it's also the same week that a very big Bitcoin futures ETF went off. And boy, did it go off. It did more than $1 billion of transactions on its first day, and it seemed to just continue to perform after that. Bill, I basically want to tee it up with you right away. What was your experience of this week? Because it certainly felt like an important week for crypto.
Well, it's nice to be with you. It's nice to welcome our equity brothers and sisters over to Bitcoin because they can finally buy an ETF. This includes institutions and retail investors. Okay. The big question is, did they show up at the party at 10 p.m. or did they show up at the party at 2 a.m.? I'm sure Jacob at USC knows the difference between getting to the party early or late. Now, so yes, the word in crypto is fear of missing out. And the big question isn't what happened with the ETF, with the $1 billion in volume. The question is, who was selling up there? So what did you guys hear about the Bitcoin ETF? Any of your friends or, relatives or anybody? I mean, did you hear anything about Bitcoin this last week personally?
Yeah, I got exactly 0 questions about the ETF specifically, but I've got more questions about crypto in general from my non-crypto people this week. So they didn't care about the ETF, but it seemed to be kind of lighting a candle for them that was like, oh, this crypto thing, maybe I should learn about this. That was my experience of it.
Yeah, I sent in my family group chat, I'm like, Bitcoin hit all-time highs. And they're like, why? And I'm like, well, there was a Bitcoin futures ETF. And they're like, well, 1, what are futures? And 2, what's an ETF? So
Right. Very interesting as equities people attempt to get educated as to what it is that they're buying. I think my answer to that question would be, if you bought GLD, that's the gold ETF. People probably have no problem buying that. They get it. It tracks gold. But GLD actually owns gold futures. So if you talk to a guy in a diner, you just say, hey, this is the old financial system's way of tracking a new form of money. Because that's what Bitcoin is now. When they put it in the ETF, yeah, it's an investment, but it became money in the mind of the SEC.
So there's a legitimization happening. It took 10 years to happen overnight, it seems.
Right. It took 10 years of 50% crashes, of living with 2018. It took a lot. I mean, there's a Snoop Dogg speech going on that's floating around Twitter saying, it's like an acceptance speech. I want to thank myself for all my hard work. I want to thank myself for never taking a day off. Listen, you got to hand it to the Bitcoin maximalists, right? Every time it went down, whether it was for 1 day or 1 year, those guys didn't waver, right? They had conviction. I mean, you got to think, you guys personally or introspectively for our audience. Is there anything out there that you've really believed in for 10 years?
I have a self-deprecating answer to that. I said I can't even believe in myself for 10 years.
Right. Well, that's, the Bitcoin maximalists have probably all gone through that. We've all gone through that. That's why the Bitcoin experience is so interesting, because people are like, that really is important. Maybe I should get involved. Maybe me thinking about that 2 years ago wasn't as dumb as I thought. Right. So I'm down with self-deprecating, but one of the good things about being young is that you guys can go, hey, check that out. And you could turn yourself around quick. Not that you guys need to be turned around, but if you're listening out there, or you're watching us and you see, all right, well, there's a guy with a pineapple shirt, and there's two younger guys. Those younger guys both came to the same realization you did, that, hey, this is for real. They just got there earlier. That's all.
Bill, I'm really curious about some of the social media grouchies that I like, of all the crypto people that I follow. They're like, well, of course, they're not going to track the actual price of Bitcoin. They're going to track Bitcoin futures, which seems like a kind of a very niche thing to get concerned over. What do you know about any future ETFs that will actually be tied to the price of Bitcoin as opposed to being tied to the expected future price of Bitcoin?
Well, like all ETF instruments, they evolve, they get more advanced, they do more sophisticated things. So eventually there'll be an ETF that actually holds physical Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. But one thing you guys will know about social media, there's always a reason to be upset. Yeah. I think the only way anybody pays attention to you is if you're upset, right? I mean, are you going to get more attention going, hey, this Bitcoin ETF thing is awesome? Or are you going to get more attention going, this is not for the purists. This is BS.
Right. What are we all upset about today? Is kind
of
the subtext of social media.
Really? God, man.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Bleck. I have no problem specifically name checking Chris Bleck, a purported DeFi thought leader who is grumpy again every day on Twitter.
Yeah,
I see you, Chris.
There's something to be said for flexibility in thinking. Like, Jacob, by academic background, is a philosopher, right? Dylan is a journalist. So at Token Metrics, we pride ourselves on flexible thinking. Mm-hmm. And I think when it comes to the Bitcoin ETF, even though you don't get it, and trust me, no one gets it the first day, week, or month, flexible thinking will help you.
Yeah. Well said, Bill. May I be so bold as to ask for a little bit of retroactive market analysis in the wake of Bitcoin's all-time high? Are we headed for, what does the technical analysis say, Bill? Are we headed for new all-time highs going into next week, or are we going to just still live in a house in the same neighborhood? What's the word?
It's probably live in a house in the same neighborhood. In other words, the true test of an uptrend, the true test is whether or not you can buy a dip and make money. Now that equity investors are involved, right? What equities do is they go up, everyone's euphoric, they get everyone in, and then they drop it, and everyone goes, oh my God, they lose their nerve, and then it goes back up again. So since it's all new, the answer is, I don't know yet. The absolute, see, everyone's laughing, right? Because in crypto, there's no such thing as a non-answer. So if I have to have an answer, I would say the marketplace is going to buy the dip and make new highs like Solana until it doesn't work anymore. And I would assume that would apply to Bitcoin for the balance of October.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah, I have two questions. So would you say that right now if we're looking at a fear and greed index, would you say we're in greed? And two, this word loves to be passed around, but also would you say we're in a crypto bubble?
Okay, so that's a good question. So lately, 2 weeks ago, fear was at fear was high, and we went from extreme fear to extreme greed in 4 weeks, which is unheard of. So I would say we're in the greed phase because people are out there chasing things other than Bitcoin. Like there's a lot of chasing going on. Okay. And are we in a crypto bubble? I think we're in an everything bubble, right? Stocks, real estate, coffee, as in, commodities, breakfast,
gasoline,
right? Gasoline, right? Sneakers, you name it. The price of it's been ramping. So my answer to your question is this: we're in an everything bubble. If everything pops, crypto pops. If everything bubble is okay, crypto still has room for innovation and adoption, right? So 2017 was a crypto bubble because no one was afraid to buy it. 2021 may not be a bubble. It could still top out and go down a little. But I sense people are like, ooh, I don't know if I can buy Bitcoin at 65K, you know? Whereas back in 2017, it was like, wahoo, it's going up forever. I can buy it on a credit card, which people were doing. So that's my extensive answer with 2 encores.
So for the core Token Metrics audience and customer base that really has their hands in the altcoin market, with Bitcoin, with the granddaddy of cryptocurrencies, being in the neighborhood of all-time highs, what's the altcoin play from there to make money, Bill?
Okay, well, the altcoin play is to be quick on the draw, right? The second Bitcoin stops going up, certain altcoins like Solana moon. But it's not moon and moon and moon. It's moon for like a day, a week, an hour, right? So if you want to play in altcoins, you got to be quick, because we all don't know if the Bitcoin beast is going to start rumbling down the street again, which is not good for small coins. So altcoins right now are for traders, right? So if you don't like trading, give it a couple weeks for altcoins.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't mind telling you, I've been following the KuCoin weekly index, and I lost a lot of gains this week. for all the good news that Bitcoin has had, it's been bad news for my altcoin holdings. Maybe it takes a fool to lose money in this market. I have no problem outing myself as being that fool. Anyway.
No, you guys aren't fools at all. I mean, if you haven't gotten hosed, then you're not in crypto. Like your indoctrination into crypto is when you get hosed.
Yeah,
or you get wrecked, as they say.
Yeah. Jacob, how's your portfolio looking this week? Was the Bitcoin all-time high? Was that good news for your portfolio?
Yeah, definitely. And with that Bitcoin, there was an Ethereum boost, so that helped out my portfolio because I'm mainly Ethereum and Bitcoin, and I do have a few altcoins like Polkadot, Audius. Just recently purchased Polymath, or soon to be Polymesh. And yeah, there was some altcoin hit. My portfolio did take some altcoin hits, but I'm in it for the long term. I have a long time horizon. As long as the altcoins projects that I picked don't go bust, then if it goes down 20%, 40%, it's like, hey, well, I'll just buy some more and hold it for the next 10 years.
Yeah, to be clear, I've also got long-term Bitcoin and ETH holdings that I'm just not touching and I'm just adding to, and that's only going up lately. I'm talking about my weekly trades that are theoretically, scalping profits here, scalping profits there. I gave a lot of profit back this week. But it happens.
You give some and you take some.
Yeah.
Yep.
So hopefully Forrest doesn't watch this, because I should have been following Forrest's advice and take some money off of the table. You only lose what you're willing to give back, to paraphrase something Forrest said during a previous live stream. Anyway, shout outs to Forrest for sure.
Right.
What else was important this week? What else do we need to talk about as we wrap up this week in review?
Well, the Federal Reserve is out on the tape saying the market's going on a diet, no more sugar starting in January. Federal Reserve just came out and said inflation is running above target. No shit.
Surprise, surprise.
And now we have to do something about it, and no one believes them. But, the fact that they said it, I don't know. They said it. So sometimes every big mistake starts with denial, but the Fed's backed off this every time they've said it over the last 12 years. So
yeah,
it's going to be the thing to talk about.
So what do you think? What do you think them taking their foot off the gas on this printing, is this something that could pop the everything bubble?
Yeah. Right now, the question is whether it's now or later, who pops the everything bubble? Will it be the Fed or will it be higher taxes? So the Fed or Congress?
Yeah.
The everything bubble has got a bullseye painted on it, and depending on how that works will be depending on whether or not it's good or bad for crypto.
Well, it's all completely interesting. It's never been more clear to me that we're alive and paying attention to a pretty unique section of history and human economics here. Crypto clearly has a long ways to go. It's here for the long haul. We're here for the long haul. And I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. Be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to Token Metrics on YouTube. And while you're at it, just pony up for a Token Metrics subscription. We're here to help you make money in crypto. And it's conversations like these that really help form the basis of that. We'll see you next week. We do this podcast 3 days a week. So we'll see you Monday. Thanks for your attention.